Have you ever encountered a teacher who showed you special attention, made you feel different? Someone who saw your potential, believed in you, and offered special opportunities? Or at least tried to show they did? After listening to this story, you'll never look at those perfect teachers the same way again. Because sometimes the biggest predators hide behind the most respectable masks. And if you don't know the techniques they use, you might fall into the same trap I did. This isn't just a university story. This is the story of the biggest destruction of my life and what brought me to where I am today. Back then, I never believed I could get through this. But here I am, sharing with you how I overcame it. I don't want any of you to become the next victims. Hello. I'm Emma. I'm 20 years old, and I'm about to tell you about the darkest period of my life. How my psychology professor at Stanford University, Dr. James Morrison, systematically hunted me, made me feel like the most special student in the world, and ultimately completely destroyed me. I live in San Francisco and study psychology at Stanford. When I graduated high school, I had been accepted to my dream university, the prestigious Stanford University. The campus was breathtaking, with that classic California architecture, palm trees, red tile roofs, and an atmosphere of academic excellence at every corner. Up until then, my life had been pretty normal. I came from a middle-class family and was a hard-working student. I had friends, of course, but I wasn't very social. I focused more on my books. As for my romantic life, well, that's where I wasn't very lucky. There had been a few flirtations in high school, but none were serious. Maybe I was too picky, or maybe I just hadn't found the right person yet. I think that's why I fell so easily for Dr. Morrison's manipulation. My inexperience was a perfect advantage for him. My first semester at Stanford went pretty well. My classes were challenging, but I enjoyed them. I was particularly successful in psychology courses. Abnormal psychology, developmental psychology, social psychology. I got high grades in every class. I knew Dr. James Morrison, of course, 45 years old, head of the developmental psychology department, a Harvard graduate who had published dozens of articles and spoke at conferences. When he walked around campus, everyone greeted him with respect. But back then, he was just a distant figure to me. Everything started that Tuesday morning when I was climbing the stairs of the psychology building to enter the advanced developmental psychology class. While drinking my coffee, I was trying to get my notes out of my bag. I felt quite nervous because this class was really difficult, and this was the first time I was taking such a high-level course. When I entered the classroom, Dr. Morrison was already standing at the front of the board. He looked perfect as always. Navy blazer, white shirt, carefully combed gray hair. He represented authority and academic excellence. "Good morning, class," he said, in that deep, confident voice. "Today we'll examine Erikson's psychosocial development theory." Normally, I would sit quietly in the back rows and take my notes, but that day was different. During class, while talking about Erikson's concept of identity crisis, he asked a question. "What area do you think young people struggle with most at this stage?" A few students tried to answer, but couldn't find a satisfactory response. I raised my hand too. "Yes, Emma?" He knew my name. He recognized me in a class of 120 people. "I think the hardest part is being able to balance social expectations with their own real desires," I said somewhat hesitantly. His expression changed. I saw genuine interest in his eyes. "Excellent observation, Emma. Could you elaborate on this a bit more?" My heart rate accelerated. The whole class was looking at me. "Well, while young people want to meet both family and society's expectations, they're also trying to discover their own identities at the same time. This double pressure deepens the identity crisis. Fantastic, he said, almost enthusiastically. This kind of analytical thinking is exactly what we're looking for in this class. Emma, you really understand these concepts. When class ended, he called out to me as I was leaving. Emma, do you have a minute? My friends gave me surprised looks. It wasn't very common for the professor to call students after class. Emma, after the last student sitting at his desk left, your participation today was really impressive. My face flushed. Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Please, you can call me James. We don't need to be formal. James! He was telling me his name.
Understanding these concepts so deeply is very rare. I have over 300 students this semester, but I've seen very few people who think analytically like you do, naturally. A warmth filled me inside. Hearing such praise at Stanford? Emma, I want to make you an offer. Have you thought about applying for a research assistantship this year? Research assistantship. This was an incredible opportunity for a sophomore. I had thought about it, but I don't think I have enough experience yet. That's where you're wrong, he said, getting up from his desk and walking toward the window. Experience is important, of course, but natural talent is even more important. You have that talent. He pointed to the campus from the window. Emma, there are thousands of brilliant students at this university, but you're different. You don't just memorize information, you understand it. You question, analyze, synthesize. Do you really think so? He turned to me. His eyes were very sincere. Emma, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know how to recognize talent. And I see something very special in you. At that moment, I felt like the most valuable student in the world. I have an offer for you. Would you like to work on my personal research project? It's a very prestigious study, or conducting it jointly with Harvard Medical School. I couldn't breathe. These kinds of opportunities were usually given to doctoral students. Of course, this is an incredible opportunity. Perfect. But Emma, confidentiality is very important in such projects. You'll be working with unpublished data. This should stay between us. The first big red flag, but at that moment, I perceived it as a romantic secret. Of course, I understand. In the following weeks, Dr. Morrison's, James's behavior intensified dramatically. He would definitely come and chat after every class. Emma, I seemed very thoughtful today. Is everything okay? I just had an argument with a friend. Your friends, do they understand you? I mean, your goals, your vision. This question touched something inside me. Recently, I really didn't feel like I was on the same wavelength as my roommates. What do you mean? He leaned back in his chair, fingertips touching. Emma, you're someone who thinks on a different level. Your vision is expanding. Your goals are becoming more sophisticated, but your environment still knows the old Emma. This sounded very logical. Recently, when I talked with my friends, when I talked about my classes, they didn't seem very interested. Maybe you're leaving them behind, he continued. High-achieving people often outgrow their first social circles. This is a natural process. These words touched something deep inside. Maybe James was right. He also started sharing from his personal life. You know, Emma, marriage wasn't as satisfying as I thought it would be. My wife, she only sees the status, the security. She doesn't understand the passion, the love for this work. I'm sorry to hear that. Most of my colleagues here either want something from me or are intimidated by me. But talking with you, it's different, genuine, pure. His eyes were meaningful. This is very rare, Emma. Very rare. On another day, he made a very personal observation. Emma, have you noticed how your expression changes when you talk about something you're passionate about? My face flushed. What do you mean? Your eyes light up, your whole facial expression comes alive. It's enchanting. No one had ever noticed such details about me before. James really saw me. As my social life began to change, the time I spent with James increased exponentially. We would work until late hours in the library, analyzing data for the research project. Emma, you shouldn't be on campus alone at this hour. Let me drive you home. The car rides were very intimate. Stanford's beautiful campus, soft music, personal conversations. A completely different environment from the offices.
Emma, he said one evening, driving through Palo Alto streets, I have to confess something to you. In my position, there are very few people I can really trust. When he stopped at a red light, he turned to me. But with you, I feel safe. When I talk with you, I can be myself, not just my title. My heart was beating wildly. I feel safe with you too. Really? Almost surprised, because I often feel very lonely, Emma. Everyone wants something, but you're genuine. The light turned green, but he maintained eye contact for another moment. Tonight, talking with you, it's been the most relaxed I felt in months. When we arrived in front of my apartment, he didn't turn off the engine. It was usually a quick drop-off, but tonight was different. Emma, he said in a soft voice, tonight was very meaningful for me. I haven't connected with someone like this in a long time. Me too, I whispered. Really? In an almost surprised tone, because you're so vibrant, so intelligent, I would have thought you had many meaningful connections. It's not like that, I confessed. A smile appeared on his face. Not like that, he repeated. Isn't this special? There was electrical tension between us at that moment. Good night, beautiful lady, he said finally. I couldn't sleep that night. Was I developing feelings for my teacher? The next few weeks, James's presence was overwhelmingly positive. Compliments, attention, special treatment. I felt like I was chosen. As meetings with him increased, I began canceling plans with my friends because James's words echoed in my head. High-achieving people outgrow their first social circles. My roommate, Madison, sent a worried message. Emma, I haven't seen you in weeks. Is everything okay? The research project is very intense. New opportunities are coming. Should we have a pizza night this weekend? We missed you. I hesitated. James's advice came to mind. High-achieving people often outgrow their first social circles. Maybe later. I'm really very busy. Madison's reply came late. Okay, but Emma, don't lose yourself while studying. Reading this made me angry. Losing myself? This was career development, not losing myself. And the 6-week, physical boundaries began to shift. James's casual touches increased, putting his hand on my shoulder during conversation, arm contact when handing documents. Emma, you look very energetic today. This color looks very nice on you. I was wearing a burgundy sweater. Thank you. Burgundy brings out your eye color. Has anyone ever told you how striking your eyes are? Very expressive. I had never received such compliments before, especially from someone like James. One afternoon, I was called to his office for research data. Emma, I want you to look at these analysis results, he said, pointing to the computer screen. I walked next to his chair to see the screen. He stood up, stood behind me, his hands resting on the back of the chair. See this part? He said, pointing to the screen while his arm brushed my shoulder. How would you interpret this differently? It was hard to concentrate. His presence, his cologne, his proximity, everything was very intense, very impressive. I remembered what the other girls on campus said about this professor. Everyone secretly admired this man. But now I had the opportunity to work with him constantly. Moreover, I never even dreamed of such a thing. Maybe we could. I was barely able to answer. Great insight, he said, gently placing his other hand on my upper arm. This is why I value your perspective, Emma. When I turned to him, I realized how close we were. You understand consumer psychology so intuitively, he said, his voice softer now. His eyes were in mine. My heart was beating so fast that I was sure he could hear it. Emma, he whispered. There was a knock on the door. We immediately separated. His assistant entered. Dr. Grayson is at the door. Of course, he said, very calmly, carrying no trace of the previous moment. Emma, thank you. This discussion was very productive. As I left his office, my legs were shaking. How close were we? His scent was still in my nose, and his proximity? That evening, my heart started racing with his sudden message. Today was very productive. Your ideas are really inspiring, Emma. My heartbeat was crazy. I wrote and deleted dozens of responses. Finally, I sent something simple. Thank you. I'm developing more with you. The response came instantly. Great. Let's make this even more productive. Would you like to continue this conversation tomorrow evening? Somewhere private where we can talk. Without hesitation, yes. Great. I know a quiet place downtown. Between us? Of course. I fell asleep thinking about what to wear.
The next evening, we met at the village pub in Palo Alto. Dimly lit, classy, perfect for private conversations. James looked incredible. He had replaced his formal suit with a black sweater and dark pants. More approachable, more human. Emma, you look very beautiful, he said, kissing my hand. During dinner, he shared very personal details. His marriage was a mistake made at a young age, and he said that between him and his wife Linda, there was now only a bond left for the children. Linda is a very practical woman, safe, predictable, but we never experienced passion, intellectual harmony. She's happier with housekeeping, but his eyes focused on me, I'm looking for deeper connections. I learned he had 2 children, 12-year-old Sarah and 8-year-old Michael. His face softened when he talked about them.
I love them very much, of course, but Emma, sometimes I feel like I'm living the wrong life. Until I met you. James. Emma, I know this is complicated. There are situations, but what I feel for you is undeniable. I feel it too. Really? Because you opened something in me that I thought was closed. The dinner conversation flowed naturally. We shared dreams, fears, goals. By the time dessert came, I felt like we had known each other for years. Afterwards, we drove around the city. Emma, tonight was perfect, but you understand we need to be careful. University policies, people might misunderstand. I understand. This is our private thing. I want to protect the special thing. A secret love affair seemed very romantic, like a forbidden love story. When we arrived in front of my apartment, he parked and turned to me. Emma, tonight meant everything to me. You mean everything to me. He approached and kissed me. I allowed it to. Gentle, soft, perfect. I didn't care at all that he was married, because I was sure he didn't care either. I've wanted to do this for weeks, he whispered near my lips. I was flying above the clouds as I walked to the apartment. The greatest love story of my life was beginning. On our 3rd meeting, everything changed. This time, we met at a small hotel in Menlo Park, further away. Emma, I want to spend more time with you," he had said in his message. "Just a place where we can talk, where no one will bother us." My heart was beating wildly when I entered the hotel. Was this really going to happen? James greeted me gently, took my hand, and led me to the room. Dim light, wine, soft music, everything was perfect. "Emma, are you sure? I don't want to make you feel forced." "I'm sure," I whispered. We were together that night. Was it my first real relationship? No, but it was definitely the first one this intense, this emotional. James's touch, his closeness, the words of love he whispered to me, I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. "You're amazing, Emma," he said afterwards, holding me in his arms. "I've never felt this way." "Really?" "Between Linda and me, it's been years since we had such closeness. You brought back my youth." But then came the reality hit. His phone rang. "Linda?" "Yes, the meeting ran late. I'm coming home," he whispered as he kissed me. "This is our secret, right, beautiful?" In subsequent meetings, I learned more family details. He usually wasn't available on weekends. Sarah has a piano recital on Saturday. Michael has a soccer game, too. Family time, you understand, right? I understood, but I was still upset. How about Monday evening? Linda is at book club. This way, our plans were always made according to his family schedule. But back then, I thought this was a romantic sacrifice. Once, he showed me pictures of his children. Sarah looked a lot like her father, Michael more like his mother. "They're everything to me," he had said. "That's why we need to be careful, Emma. I don't want to hurt them." I didn't want to hurt them either. This was emotional manipulation, but I couldn't understand it at the time. I thought I was a sacrificing, understanding girlfriend. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the dynamics began to change. "Emma, you've been different lately, more needy." "What do you mean?" "You're questioning my schedule, wanting more time. I thought you understood how complex the situation is." "I just miss you when we don't see each other." "You miss me?" With a slight smile. "Emma, we see each other constantly. Maybe you're becoming a bit dependent." "Emma, don't forget I have a family, Linda and the children. I have responsibilities toward them. Since you're still young and single, maybe you can't understand." The word dependent hurt. Was I dependent? I don't think I'm dependent. "Sweetheart, I care about you deeply, but this level of dependency isn't healthy for either of us." I started questioning myself. Maybe I was too needy. The comments increased. "Emma, you're taking this too seriously. Remember, we agreed to keep it light." Had we made such an agreement? "Sometimes you overthink everything. It's exhausting." "You're very emotional today. Is everything okay?" "You need to understand the situation at home, Emma. Linda has been suspicious lately. We need to be more careful." Each comment eroded my self-confidence. Then came criticism about my appearance. "This dress is a bit much for the office, don't you think?" "Your makeup looks heavy today. What if you did your hair differently?" But mixed with compliments. "You're beautiful, but with small changes, you could be very striking." This hot-cold treatment was confusing. I never knew which James I would encounter. My Instagram posts started to bother him. Why do you share so many photos? Trying to get attention isn't attractive, Emma. You went out yesterday? With whom? That restaurant? Expensive tastes for your age. I had to live on edge constantly, having to analyze every move. When friends tried to reconnect, Madison, dinner this weekend. Before answering, I found myself thinking, what would James say? I can't. Research work. Emma, you've been saying this for 2 months. What's really going on? I didn't know how to answer. The most destructive tactic, the silent treatment. After a small disagreement about weekend plans, James completely cut off communication. No messages, no office visits, no acknowledgement. James, why can't we meet this weekend? Emma, we need to understand that Linda is suspicious. Sarah is also asking, why is Daddy staying so late? We need to take a break for my family. How long a break? I don't know. This pressure is too much. For 5, 6 days, complete silence. I was trying to find my mistake by analyzing every interaction, every word. Finally, on the 7th day, a random office visit. Emma, how are you? You look tired.
We haven't talked for a week. Really, I've been very busy. You seem to be taking it very personally. He was making me question my reality. Had I imagined the silence? This gaslighting was driving me crazy. The pattern was established. Disagreement, silence, casual dismissal. You're very sensitive, Emma. Not everything is about you. Each incident made me more desperate to regain his approval. When good James returned, the relief was overwhelming. I missed talking with you. Linda and I have been very tense lately. The children noticed too. You understand, right? I felt grateful for scraps of attention, for normal love. 2 months later, the red flags were now too obvious to ignore. I caught lies. Last night, Linda's mother came. We had a family dinner. But his Instagram story showed him at the campus bar with colleagues. When I confronted him, I saw Instagram. Emma, following my social media is quite a disturbing behavior. I just saw it. Or were you actively stalking? This jealousy is unhealthy. Again, he was blaming me. Another incident. He promised dinner Friday night, canceled last minute. Sarah got sick. I had to take her to the hospital. Later, I learned from his assistant there was no emergency that night. James had gone out with other colleagues. Emma, you're becoming paranoid. This suspicious behavior is pushing me away. But Sarah said, you asked my assistant? This is completely inappropriate. Again, my fault. Most disturbing, I observed the same behaviors with new doctoral student, Sophia. Sophia was 23 years old, long blonde hair, a very smart girl. She had come as an exchange student from Germany. Same compliments. Sophia, you're different from other students. This analytical perspective is very rare. Same special attention, bringing coffee, long conversations, research projects, special meetings. Same positioning, standing very close, unnecessary physical contact, meaningful looks. Watching this was like an out-of-body experience, like watching my old self. James, you're spending a lot of time with Sophia, when I said. Sophia is a new student. I need to mentor her. Are you jealous? I'm not jealous, but because these possessive behaviors aren't very attractive. One day, I overheard an office phone conversation. Yes, a new one started. Sophia, very young, very naive, came from Germany, has no one here. Perfect timing. Same techniques are working. My heart stopped. I was watching this not with jealousy, but with horrible awareness. As I observed his interactions with Sophia, I saw how manipulative my own experience had been. I caught Sophia in the corridor. Sophia, how's the research going? He was asking, putting his hand on her back. Very good, but some parts are complicated.
Don't worry, I'll help you. You have very special talent. Same words, same intonation, same manipulation. That night, I researched in depth some terms I'd heard but never really knew. How would a psychology student learn these deeply from social media? Maybe I'd ignored them. Lovebombing, narcissistic manipulation tactic, overwhelming the target with excessive love, attention, and praise to create emotional dependency. Devaluation phase, after lovebombing, systematically destroying the target's self-esteem through criticism, neglect, and emotional abuse. Triangulation, using third parties to create jealousy, insecurity, and competition. Gaslighting, manipulation that causes someone to question their own reality and mental health. Each definition perfectly described James's behavior. This wasn't coincidence. This was calculated, systematic emotional manipulation. I reviewed months of messages, could clearly see the patterns. Excessive praise followed by subtle criticism, creating dependency then withdrawing love, isolating me from friends and support systems, making me question my own perceptions. I researched more: narcissistic personality disorder, workplace predators, and emotional abuse cycles. Everything fit perfectly. James wasn't special. He was a narcissistic manipulator. I started documenting everything: message screenshots, emails, private incidents. If this became a legal matter, I would need evidence. The most painful realization: I was never special. Never special. I was a target, a victim, a supply source. Sophia was the next victim. How many students had there been before me? I began researching in Stanford's psychology department. I found names of female students who'd taken James's class in past semesters, then changed majors or left school. Rachel Martinez changed majors in 2019. Monica Chen left school in 2020. Jessica Torres transferred to another university in 2021. I reached out to Jessica via LinkedIn. Hello, Jessica. Emma from Stanford, psychology department. We need to talk about Dr. Morrison. Jessica responded immediately. Emma, can we meet? Our coffee meeting was a revelation. Emma, I left because of James. Similar situation, special attention, mentorship, then things got inappropriate. Why didn't you say anything? Who would believe it? He's very careful, very manipulative, and I was also ashamed. Jessica's experience was the same: lovebombing, isolation, devaluation, destruction. I tried to give you subtle warnings, but you were already under his influence. Are there others? Rachel, definitely. I also spoke with Monica, same pattern. He has a type: young, ambitious, lacking confidence in romantic relationships, usually foreign students or those away from family. Perfect victim profile. Just like me. Jessica, I need to stop this. He's targeting someone named Sophia now. Be careful, Emma. He's a powerful man, and he's very good at making women appear unstable when they speak up. I also spoke with Monica. Her story was very similar, but even more painful. We thought I was pregnant, Monica said. James panicked and blamed me, said it was because I, quote, wasn't careful. Then it turned out to just be a delay, but he treated me so badly, I wanted to kill myself. God, Monica. You're lucky, Emma. You realized early. I was stuck for 2 years. I began building a case, documented conversations, inappropriate emails, testimonies from Jessica, Monica, and others.
I planned the confrontation for the next week. I requested a private meeting. James, we need to talk about something important. Sure, sweetheart. What's on your mind? I know what you're doing. Manipulation, love bombing, systematic emotional abuse. His facial expression changed instantly. The mask slipped for a moment. The cold calculation underneath showed. Emma, I don't know what you're talking about. You sound very needy. Real fear appeared in his eyes. Then he recovered. You must have misunderstood work conversation. Emma, you're talking like paranoid theory. Classic gaslighting attempt. Jessica, Monica, Rachel, and now Sophia. Same pattern with all of them. Emma, you're acting like you're crazy. Maybe you should get professional help. There's documentation, James. Messages, emails, witness statements. Real fear now. His face paled. Emma, listen carefully. You're making up imaginary things. And if you continue these ridiculous accusations, I'll have to question your suitability for this position. Are you threatening me? I'm protecting the university from unstable student behavior. Sophia should know what she's experiencing. Sophia? Emma, you're harassing a young student with your paranoid delusions. This is an expellable offense. Try it. Everything is documented. When threats didn't work, James switched to hoovering. Suddenly, loving James returned. Emma, I'm sorry. Maybe there were misunderstandings, but my feelings for you are real. Your feelings aren't real, James. None of it was real. How can you say that? Remember our first dinner. You can't fake that connection. You faked everything. Tears appeared in his eyes. Oscar-level performance. Emma, I admit I made mistakes, but I love you. I'll change. I'll be better. You don't love me. You can't love anyone. That's not true. You're the most important thing in my life. Until next week, until the next target comes. His desperation was increasing. Emma, I'm thinking of leaving Linda. I want to build a real life with you. He was even telling this lie now. James, you won't leave Linda. You won't abandon your children, and you'll move on to the next victim. Emma, if you leave now, you'll regret it forever. No one will love you as much as I love you. No one will manipulate you as much as you manipulated me. You're destroying this beautiful thing for paranoid fantasies. I'm saving myself from abuse. Last attempt, threatening self-harm. Emma, if you leave me, I don't know what I'll do. You're everything to me. Find a therapist, James. You need professional help. I stood up. Emma, please, give me one more chance. I'm done, James. And Sophia needs to know the truth. Immediately after the confrontation, I went to Sophia. I found her at the student center, looking confused and upset. Sophia, can we talk privately? Emma, yes, actually, there's something tired going on. I took her to an empty meeting room.
What's confusing? Dr. Morrison has been very attentive lately. Compliments, special projects, long conversations about my potential. And yesterday evening, he wanted to take me to dinner. He said just to discuss the research, but today he tried to kiss me in his office. When I pulled away, he said I was leading him on and that I should be grateful for this attention. Same escalation, same victim blaming. Sophia, you're not going crazy, and you're not alone. I spent the next hour explaining everything: James's systematic manipulation, previous victims, documented patterns. Sophia's relief was very evident. I thought I was losing my mind. Thank you for telling me. We need to report to HR together. But he's so powerful. Will they believe us? With testimonies from Jessica, Monica, and our documentation, yes. Emma, you're very brave. I could never do this alone. You're not alone, Sophia. None of us were alone. He just made us feel that way. The HR investigation was swift. With multiple testimonies, documented evidence, and Sophia's fresh incident, the university had to act. James was fired within 2 weeks. Official reason: violation of university policy and inappropriate behavior. But the real victory wasn't his firing. It was Sophia's recovery, Jessica's validation, and my own healing. In therapy, I learned about trauma bonding, cognitive dissonance, and why intelligent women fall for narcissistic manipulation. Emma, Dr. Rodriguez explained, you weren't weak or stupid. Narcissistic manipulators are experts at exploiting basic human needs: validation, connection, purpose. They study their targets and create the perfect illusion. Recovery took months, learning to trust my instincts again, rebuilding the friendships I had neglected, learning that love should never make you feel constantly tested. Madison and I became closer than we'd ever been. Sophia switched to a different advisor, but stayed in the program and thrived. We created a support network for each other. He didn't divorce Linda, of course. A few months later, he found work at another university. The pattern would continue, but at least not at Stanford. Looking back, I can clearly see the red flags. 1. Love bombing, excessive attention, praise, and gifts at the beginning of the relationship. 2. Isolation tactics, distancing you from friends and family. 3. Hot-cold treatment, alternating between love and coldness to create dependency. 4. Gaslighting, making you question your own reality and perceptions. 5. Triangulation, comparing you to others or involving third parties. 6. Future faking, making promises about the future that never materialize. 7. Victim blaming, making every problem seem like your fault. 8. Secrecy demands, wanting you to keep the relationship secret. The most important lesson: trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Real love doesn't require you to change your identity, abandon your friends, or constantly question your worth. Real love is consistent, respectful, and empowering. I'm sharing this story because Dr. James Morrison isn't unique. There are others like him everywhere, in offices, universities, anywhere there are power relationships. Sophisticated manipulators can appear charming, successful, and respectable. That's exactly what makes them dangerous. If you're currently in such a relationship, you're not at fault. You're not weak, and you're not alone. Talk to someone you trust. Document everything. Ask for help. Because real love makes you feel freedom, not fear. My name is Emma, and this is my story. But more importantly, this is now my past. My future is something completely different, stronger, more knowledgeable, and definitely more free. And so this story comes to an end, but the pain it carries is real and lasting. Behind his mask, there may be charm, but also lies, manipulation, and silence. If you've experienced something similar, please don't hesitate to share it in the comments below
or send it to us directly. Your story matters, your truth matters, and your voice might be the one that saves someone else from falling into the same trap. Together, we break the silence, together we unmask the lies, and together we rise stronger.